hybrid situation, geopolitical instability, a booming demand, digital transformation, all of these mixed things going on. And then you hear people say, well, geography doesn't matter anymore, but it does matter. It's always going to matter, right? You know, there's certain facts about knowing your jurisdiction is safe, knowing you have the rule of law, you know, knowing you can trust your partners, on and on and on. So I would love to just start, and then we have, what's interesting about Kaye and Barbados is you have a country that's, we all know Barbados has been there for years, but there's a sort of a new energy and a new kind of wave in the way you're trying to position Barbados. So we'll talk about that as well. But Sakshi, why don't we start with you? Maybe a few minutes each of you giving us your, you know, bigger perspective on this and what it all means for our outsourcing world.
Sure. So first of all, thank you, everyone. Sakshi Garg from Everest Group. I lead our locations optimization practice globally. I think we are seeing 5 major trends from a location strategy perspective as we advise clients on both enterprise and service provider side. Number 1, the focus on risk monitoring and risk mitigation is at the highest level right now, given the events that have happened globally, both COVID, Ukraine, etc. That is the number 1 thing that clients are asking us to, you know, look into as they are asking us to evaluate locations. Number 2 is following the talent. So really aligning your delivery models and your location strategy. The first question we are asking clients when they come to us right now is this going to be a hybrid setup, remote setup, or an in-office setup? Because that is going to drive the choice of the talent pool or the catchment area that you can really capture. Third is, you know, tier 2 locations. Lots and lots of interest. People want more and more talent and more risk diversification, and that's where tier 2 locations are coming up. Fourth, I would say till about a few years, we were seeing a lot of emphasis on hub and spoke model, but now we are seeing a lot of emphasis on hub, spoke, and satellite model. So, you know, that satellite could be a WeWork, could be a work from home, or could be a smaller center. And last but not the least, I think this is still in nascent stages, but a lot of alignment between location strategy and workforce strategy. So we did a survey a few months ago, and we asked how many organizations have a very holistic SWP, strategic workforce planning practice. And, you know, it was like 30%. But we are seeing a lot of interest to make sure that the workforce strategy and location strategy go hand in hand, because everybody wants to find new talent. And if they don't know what their future demand is going to be from a talent perspective, your location strategy cannot be future-proof. So those are the 5 things that we are seeing a lot from our clients in terms of location strategy.
What are our clients' challenges, right? When they talk about location, the BPO, I'm not here to pontificate on BPO challenges because y'all are way more knowledgeable about the BPO challenges, the attrition, the brand strategy and telecommunications and all that. But we always look at what countries can help in really the 3 key areas that the BPOs are having most challenges in. One is the changing political landscape, right? Protests, wars, failing economy, laws against outsourcing, right? Those are always issues that the country or the region, economic developers can help with, right? Then you got the scarcity of talent that we've talked about for a long time, right? Because really, the talent is helped by the country by preparing the workforce, getting the universities. And one thing about the U.S. is getting better at is getting those universities involved. And if you're finding a location in Sacramento, you got Sacramento State, you've got UC Davis, these major universities getting involved, helping all kinds of companies, not just BPOs, but all kinds of companies to hire workforce. So cost is important and what their challenges are. But I think one of the most important parts that you're seeing now, since all these costs are the same, is language skills.
Having said all that, where are we at with Barbados these days? So great to have you on the stage. We've been waiting a long time. You're here now. What's the latest with Barbados?
Well, we see the nearshore industry and sector as one that we really want to go forward in getting into. And, as I heard Jeff spoke just now, in terms of all of the things that persons look for, those are the very same questions that, honestly, now that we've gone out there and says, well, Barbados is ready for this business and Barbados is ready for this sector, that we have actually being asked, hey, what is your attrition like? Do you have a problem with that? And well, if for Barbados, no, we really don't. We have low attrition, which is a good thing. We get asked a lot about political stability, and of course, Barbados is one of the more stable countries in the world, And but one of the other things that we find interesting is persons like to ask us about our outlook on the digital space, the digital working environment, and we like to obviously at that point in time says, well, we developed the welcome stamp just during COVID to says, look, you don't have to literally change your tax regimes. You don't have to look to see, well, do I move to Barbados and pay some taxes in Barbados? Just take up your computer, take up everything, hop on a plane, come down for 12 months, and you can do all of your work from Barbados. And it's really linking that kind of digital nomad kind of situation into even the BPO space. Who's to say that your talent pool, I mean, Barbados has a wealth of talent pool. Don't get, we are 99 point something % literate, and we shiv out graduates every single year from high school, university, and so on. But we are also tiny and have only 300,000 persons. And but when you're talking about talent pool, it doesn't stop there. Because of programs like the digital nomad program, you can take anybody from any country and says, hey, I'm going to send you to Barbados, locate you down there. You'll be working down there for 12 months. We can extend it for you. And there you have now an extended reach into talent from across the world.
So what this is sort of a basic thing, but I still haven't wrapped my head around it. You have, I mean, when I was in Barranquilla visiting Gustavo in December, virtually every BPO I talked to said, oh, if we want to hire people, their only option is to hire them work from home immediately. Like the entire generation of people, the way I heard it, a whole lot of them are expecting, if I'm going to go work for you, I'm working from home. And I'm hearing that a lot around the region. So you have this as a trend, and especially the big cities. Why do I want to drive an hour and a half to get to work if I can work from home? So you have this, but at the same time, you have lots of expansion. You two are very busy. Is the capacity of those landings or setting up in such and such country, how are they going through, those providers, going through the metrics and analysis to know what's the right amount of space I need? If this trend, I mean, no one has a crystal ball, but everyone seems to say hybrid is here to stay. So how does that conversation go?
Sure. I think first of all, the answer really varies from country to country. Not all countries have the same type of inclination towards remote hybrid. Just to quote, NASSCOM conducted a study which was published yesterday, I think, and 70% of the people voted, it was an employee-based survey, 70% of the people voted in favor of hybrid, 25% in favor of remote, and only 5% voted in favor of coming back to office. So it's not remote in each country. I think it varies a lot from country to country. There is no clear answer right now to say, hey, you need to give up X percentage of space if you're going hybrid, or so much percentage of space if you're going remote. Because there are multiple variations of hybrid. You can have a weekly hybrid, you can have a week-by-week hybrid, you can have a split team hybrid. So there are lots of models out there. And I would say facilities is probably the fourth item on the list or the fifth item on the list as companies are thinking about these delivery models. The more important thing right now, given the talent shortage, is to attract talent. Facilities, the decisions related to facilities come later on. And we did a study a couple of months back, and it was focused on Philippines. And what we found was that how the catchment area really changes the talent equation. So if you look at 35 minutes driving distance out of Manila, let's say you get X number of people. You increase that driving distance to 70 minutes, you get 4X. And then if you increase it to 100 minutes, you get 6X people. And that is what we are using, this kind of rigor we are using in the analysis to tell people, you need to align your location strategy with your delivery model. If you want to go for a hybrid and you want people to come for 2 days a week, probably you can attract talent from that 6X population. But if you want everyone in office, probably between that X and 4X population, because that is the population that is going to drive to office.
Very interesting.
So facilities, last point on the list, it's all about talent. What can I attract? How quickly can I attract? And then how much can I scale?
So great segue with Barbados. Your teledensity or high-speed internet penetration is exceptional.
This is very high.
How does that figure into your strategy?
We know that everything basically, I mean, even before the pandemic, that everything was simply going digital. The pandemic basically sped it up for the world. And therefore, we know that it is very important to have coverage and total coverage and as limited downtime as possible with telecommunications. And that is one of so the strategy for Barbados in terms of not only BPO, but business as a whole, and especially in this new market, this new digital market, is to make sure that we're ahead of the game and make sure that we look to foresee what's going to happen. And that is one thing that was put in, says that we need to make sure our IT infrastructure and platform is second to none. And we are ranked very high actually in the world. It is second to none. I actually drive from home in the middle of the country. I mean, this country is small, but from home in the middle of the country to the other end of the country, maybe for half an hour on a Zoom call. I never lost connection once through some, we would call it trees, not forests, but never. The thing is never to lose connection once. Where persons sitting somewhere in some other countries dropped off the call and so on, and they were stable. We saw it as very critical, very important because of where the world was going. So we decided we're going to, if we have to put our buck somewhere or money somewhere, that is where we're going to put it. And we keep making sure that we can keep it up because we don't want to be saying investors come to Barbados, BPO companies come to Barbados, and then bam, you can't operate. When the pandemic hit, when the country shut down, we have a large BPO in Barbados, and this is an example. And we said, well, you can't have this amount of persons in this space anymore. And it said, okay, what we're going to do? Well, you know what? Send half of them to work from home. And within 3 days, half the employees, about 450 persons, was able to transition work from home and work from home consistently without actually having a break to their clientele. And during the pandemic, funny enough, this very company actually expanded their employment because persons now are saying, well, hey, I can work for that company because I can just simply work from home. I don't have to take the risk. And you know what? The systems are totally up. They actually, at one point, they were worried about the cybersecurity risk, but that was also fixed. And therefore, they were able to set up persons at home, mitigate the risk of data and cybersecurity, mitigate the risk of any downtime, and was able to continue their operations. It was just a foresight. What can I say? But that's where we are at.
That's good because if you can't get a worker in the brick and mortar and you can't keep a worker at home, your attrition is just going to be out the roof, and that's the last thing you want to deal with is attrition because it's hard enough to find people.
It is.
Keeping people is just as hard.
Let's take off on that point because one of my favorite stories is the Cayman Islands. Jennifer's a great person to talk to because as well as Barbados, there's a lot of enlightened thinking about, hey, don't just judge us by our population because we have a lot more to go. So looking at the two of you, when you hear about these countries are saying, okay, they're not living in the previous century. They understand that bringing people in, making it easy, transitioning, it's very smooth, one-stop shop stuff. How much does that register for you?
I mean, it does register at some level, but I think what clients are really looking for is depth and sustainability of skills. Nobody wants to set up a shop and, wind it down in a few years. So they're really looking for depth and sustainability. They want people to align to their culture, right, and work for them on a long-term basis. And if these countries can provide a long-term, environment for people to flourish and develop their careers, they can be great choices. But I think as we talked about the whole customer experience thing in the morning, right? That customer experience comes from the knowledge of the product, the knowledge of the company, the ability to innovate. And that requires stability and sustainability in whichever career, wherever you are. And that would be a key to making some of these models successful. 12-month stint, great, but then how can you make those people stay on a long-term basis and work for the same company? So that's going to be a key.
Well, Kirk, actually on that, the other thing that we recognize that. So we says, hey, you bring in the talent, but rightfully so, how do we sustain that talent? then you make sure that you also have a tailored program going at the same time to retrain and retool your persons that are already there to make sure that you can provide the talent pool locally for these companies for a sustainable amount of time. So it's a two-step program, and these two sides of the program go hand in hand, move at the same time. So while you're bringing it in, you're also building your capacity to make sure you have sustainability in that regard.